Smart 24, driving business.
Morning, welcome to Smart Men's Business this morning. I'm Andrew Obariji, exactly the 10th of October 2024. And of course, yesterday Uganda was celebrating 62 years of self-rule. But of course, we are still continuing with a series of discussions all related into the event that actually was undertaken yesterday. And today we have something that we're going to be undertaking a review as we get to bisect how the politics of this country since way back in 1962 has influenced the economics of this country. But of course, in the gist of this discussion, we shall be largely focusing on the rationalization aspect. Of course, there are so many in here. We shall be taking a look at how the policies that were implemented back in time, how was it really, how have they been effective, most especially when it comes to creating economic growth and development. But of course, according to the critics, the political critics, they believe the country is not really fully independent, simply because they are largely attributing to this due to the education sector, the way the setting is set. Well, because when you get to also realize that most of the policy makers, they seem to be designing these policies, of course, with the colonial aspect, based on the westernization. But little do they know that actually, if you make a policy based on the mind of a foreign personnel, perhaps, you might find hard times into sustaining that policy, because remember, you're dealing with different people here. These are Ugandans, these are British, so there is quite a lot. So we are going to be really exploring those aspects, but like I told you, we shall be zeroing down to the rationalization aspect. But of course, just here, a little bit brief, if we to remember from 1962 to 1971, what we call the post-independence era, Uganda gained, of course, this when Milton Obote was the first prime minister, and the economy grew rapidly. That is driven by agriculture, manufacturing, and of course, infrastructure development at the same time. But of course, the GDP growth rate still averaged at about 5.5% annually. That is between 1962 and 1971. And export earnings also on this matter increased due to favorable global prices for Uganda's primary exports. At the moment, we had cotton, coffee, and definitely tea. But of course, now we have to review the 1971 to 1970. That is the Idi Amin era, which is power in 1971, which led to some little bit of economic decline at the moment. But of course, that was coupled with the expulsion of entrepreneurs in 1972, which was actually very crucial to the decline of the industrialization and production and trade at the moment. And of course, economic mismanagement and corruption insecurity reduced GDP growth rate to about 1.4% annually. That is in that particular period, 1971 and 1979. But of course, from the 1979 to the 1986, where Amin's outstay in 1979 led to the transition period, followed by President Yoweri Museveni, his rule in 1986. And the economic recovery efforts definitely began with the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, who supported structural adjustment programs at the moment, and the GDP growth rate also improved by 4.5% annually, and inflation reduced by to 10%. Yes, to 10%, which was actually, you remember, it had soared above 1,000% in the era of 1971 up to 1979, and now it's coming from 1,000% and to zeroing down to 10%. So that is quite something very instrumental to understand. But of course, with Museveni's national resistance movement kind of implemented economic reforms, that is liberalizing trade and investment, and Uganda also definitely experienced rapid economic growth rate that is at about 7.5% at the moment, that which was annually between the year 1986 up to 2006. But of course, this presented quite some few challenges in that regard. But of course, the opportunities was the discovery of oil reserves and subsequent investments in the oil sector. And of course, we had the GDP growth rate slow a little bit due to global economic downturns and domestic challenges. And of course, you remember it was, if we talk about 1986 up to 2006, it was just after 2 years later after that, and we had the economic, the global economic turmoil in that line. Now, so inflation increased to about 6.8% due to the COVID-19 and the elected-related uncertainties. But of course, there is quite a lot we shall be dissecting. This was just a general overview. But as we continue, as we proceed with these discussions, we're going to be zeroing it down to the liberalization aspect, or what we can call the rationalization aspect, privatization, in other words, to make it simple. Of course, why is this really necessary? It kind of gives you a gist in line with when you know, because as an individual, as a citizen, you're part of a big economic system and an entire ecosystem. So you exist within there. So when you get to understand when you follow the trends, they will guide you on what actually your country is prioritizing, and that will guide your investment decisions. Well, at this point, let's switch and take a look at what's making headlines that is within the press. As we proceed along here, I have the New Vision and the Daily Monitor, and starting off with the Daily Monitor. Railway back on track. This is President Museveni. Of course, he uses the Independence Day celebrations to tell the nation that his government is refurbishing the meter gauge railway and will also fast track the construction of the standard gauge railway. So that is quite very important. And Kenyan members of parliament give Senate through pass. That is to kick out Gachagua, that is the deputy president. And of course, the Kampala City Council Authority hands over to Chitezi garbage, that is to an investor. So grab yourself a copy to find out the details that are entailed in this particular one. Now, government also plans to cut next budget by 14 trillion Ugandan shillings. All right, this is part of what is making headlines here. But of course, as we proceed along, of course, I can see here, this is Augustine Rosindana, who says that our independence is actually still provisional. Why is he really saying this? Of course, there has been all these minds that from the mindset, we haven't yet shifted our mindsets. It's not bad that during the British rule, people came out backed. We had some of the best leaders that were actually largely backed, but the challenge now remained with the curriculum. Yes, with the curriculum, which is not actually up to the current trends. But he says our independence is still provisional. So find out that as you grab yourself a copy of the Daily Monitor. Of course, now about the Katanga murder case, Katanga's sister has been cross-examined as a result of this. So grab to find out what really transpired. And of course, a Ghanaian investor who the government has handed over the Chitezi rubbish. Now, the investor's immediate plan is to level the land and fill the garbage heap to prevent the future tragedies following, of course, what happened just recently. And now we take a look at the postal services, which are empowering global connectivity. Now, in 1969, World Post Day was declared in Tokyo. Japan. Now, according to the United Nations, the day provides an opportunity for postal services that is to introduce or promote new products and services. And this year's celebration emphasizes the themes on innovation, talking about integration, talking about inclusion too, is part of the theme. So grab to find out further details entailed in that. Now, in other national news, we take a look at Leero Hospital, which chokes on high patient numbers, and the medical workers say they are overwhelmed by the number of patients. This is quite absurd. And of course, here we see NEMA approval delays oil palm project that is in Masaka. Yes, find out further details. And government, the 2025-2026 budget is to be cut by 14 trillion Ugandan shillings. Now, in his first budget call, Mr. Ramadan Gobi indicated that the preliminary resource envelope for the 2025-2026 financial year is projected to amount to 57.4 trillion Ugandan shillings, which is about 14.7 trillion lower than the current budget of 72.1 trillion. All right, now away from that, 74 financial institutions now access NIRA database. This is according to the Bank of Uganda. 74 financial institutions now can access the NIRA database. Okay, now money in circulation grows due to high demand. Another report here suggests. So find out further details as you embark to follow that story. And of course, the letter of the day here, we see Moses tweets and Uganda sovereignty. Get to find out what really is entailed in that. Okay, now still as I proceed, of course, here in they're telling you in a section here about the future, about actually, is your car due for wheel alignment? Of course, they tell us that alignments help ensure your wheels are pointed in the right direction. Misaligned wheels can lead to reduced fuel economy, premature tire, and there is wear, tearing difficulties. There is quite a lot of information to really get to find out regarding that, most especially if you own a car. Of course, somebody still here says timely service reduces his car costs. So find out how it does it and why it's actually important for it to be embraced, timely servicing of the vehicles. Okay, now of course as I proceed, there is quite a lot here. Okay, let's take a look at, let's get into here the sports beat, perhaps in the local side. Of course, we take a look at Kampala Queens that have 100 million reasons to triumph. Yes, we had a report regarding actually these yesterday. And Wanachi Nalia bask in independence hockey delight. Yes, find out a copy on what this really entails. And the feat in Sivambi vows to lift cranes load. Now, of course, a striker Sivambi's return couldn't have come at any better time for Uganda Cranes, of course, as they prepare to face a familiar foes, South Sudan. Now, with these eyes are set on the prize and the burning desire to prove his worth, the striker is definitely aims to make tomorrow's clash at Nambole his stage of redemption. And that gets me to wind up with the Daily Monitor. And now let's switch to the New Vision. Now here, Uganda plans a road to link to Central Africa. Very amazing. Now, President Museveni says he will persuade the Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan over this particular project. And the Bank of Uganda to keep government school land titles. And Chitezi dam site handed over to the investor, and 16 Kagadi teachers jailed over loans. And regarding Katanga's case, the sister quizzed on police statement. And of course, President Museveni awards Diamond Jubilee Awards in that regards. Okay. Now, still as we proceed along, President Museveni offers to broker peace in Sudan, and of course the president urged warring factions to agree to cease fire. Okay, and of course they say Sekou tells Ntungamo students here to say no to premarital sex in that regard. So I get to find out what that entails. And the Bank of Uganda, of course, is set to keep the land titles of government schools. Churches agree that is to register titles in school names. Of course, we can see, of course, land grabbing. The development is intended to protect school land from potential land grabbers. This is according to the report, as some contractors actually have already moved the districts to start on this survey. Yeah, contractors already underway. And of course, this at this particular page, there are further details regarding Uganda, how it plans to set up a road that connects to Central Africa, find out how is it going to be done. And Uganda has emerged from a typical colonial small enclave economy to a diversified, progressing economy, as says President Museveni. Of course, in regards to the independence celebrations, the celebrations attracted diplomats from France, Ireland, Belgium, talk about Australia, Equatorial Guinea, Rwanda, and among so many others. So that's what exactly transpired. And of course, following up on the Ghanaian investor that has taken over the Chitezi landfill. Yes, grab and find out what really this will be entailing. And now government is set to establish a regional heart centers. Yes, this is good news. We'll be limiting the too much, the foreign revenue we lose when many people got to seek medical services across the country, Uganda. It's actually costly in the long run, because that means it will mean that the medical practitioners, the professionals, are going to be considered like not so much important to the citizens that they actually supposed to serve, and that would be an employment. So government to establish more regional heart centers really means a lot. And now the DP block suspends Mabike Mokaku. So get to find out this as you grab yourself a copy. And Minister Anite, the Minister for Investment, accused of influence peddling. The State Minister in that. Okay, I'll find out what that really entails. Now, UBOS clarifies tribe population statistics. Of course, we see here Prime Minister Rubina Nabancha commissioning the dissemination of the National Population Housing and Census 2024 final report at Kampala Serena Hotel recently. Yes, so the UBOS has clarified tribe population statistics, and the agency plans to release a final report in December, which will include thematic analysis of various indicators. Okay. And now here, very absurd as Makerere University drops in global rankings. Now, the recently restored here, we are seeing what the tabloids really say. According to what is being said across here, the Times Higher Education World University rankings are considered the most rigorous and balanced global rankings, assessing that is the research-intensive universities based on the pillars of teaching, of course, research, knowledge transfer, and internationalization. Now, the rankings began with 200 universities, and it encompasses more than 2,000, making them the most inclusive university rankings in the world. Now, these are very particular, the Times Higher Education World University rankings is saying that Makerere University is declining. So it's dropping in the global rankings. All right, now, there is a section here regarding the independence special. Reap independence dividends in our education sector. This is according to what the writer here says. As we see that as Uganda celebrates 6 decades of freedom, there is a cause for celebration in the education sector, because we see that the government has made bold strides in ensuring quality education for all, and Martin Kitubi is here to share these inspiring success stories. Now, the government has sponsored a total of about 16,439 students under the loan scheme since the program started in 2014. And of course, Emioga SACCOs have been advised to use available materials to produce goods while adding value. And infant SACCO leaders tipped on transparency and honesty at the same time. So find out what the teaching entailed. And vocational training curricula overhauled. As we see, only 50,000 students join both universities and other tertiary institutions. That is leaving a pool of about 50,000, which should actually be covered under the loan scheme. All right. Now this was in line with the court. With the independent special. Of course, now here we into the court section. Court admits exhibits in case against former UNRWA staff. Of course, under Section 20 of the Anti-Corruption Code Act, a person convicted of the offense of causing financial loss is definitely liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 4.8 million on term of imprisonment, or imprisonment not exceeding 14 years. This is according to what it says. And now the court here admits and exhibits in case against former the UNRWA staff. And of course, regarding the Katanga trial, lots of details as the deceased sister cross-examined on police statement. Okay, proceeding along, we now heading into the business section. And of course, expert warns on artificial intelligence's looming danger on the banking sector. I think we've had quite a number of discussions in line with the regulation of artificial intelligence, and this, I guess, doesn't sound new to you. And of course, export opportunity here regarding business process outsourcing. Get to understand how can you really be a part, with the business process outsourcing. You can actually have an opportunity to work in a foreign country, but yet you don't have to be there physically. You can stay in your home country, you still work. And so find out what it really entails. Okay, now NDA promotes herbal medicine here. Now, according to the World Health Organization, 40 African countries now have traditional medicine policies, up from 8 in 2000. So this is really interesting. If we start to embrace our source as Africa, this will be quite an opportunity for the development of that continental free trade area. And the UNATO pleads for 16 Kagadi teachers imprisoned over the loans. I'll find out further details in regards to that. And in other stories, about 41% of Uganda's area is experiencing a degradation. Now, a Lieutenant General Koreta advocates environmental conservation. So this is what is actually transpiring. And rising Lake Albert waters displaced over 1,000 households. And the bid to oust Kenya Deputy President goes to the Senate. That is it in regards to our press brief. Let's take a break. And of course, we are returning with the Caribbean, East Africa and international updates. Stick around.
Smart 24, driving business.
Bono Bulu Magic is my joy. Bono Bulu Magic, wange. Ayo, talaba kumabala, atukuza nonyirirawo kirako enyange. Tayisa bubi fabriki, kyonna kyekiri kigwa lwa Bulu Magic is my joy.